Hi, welcome back. So for this video session I will try to tell you that how you can use the exception handling mechanism in Java. So with the help of the this mechanism you will be able to recover from an exception probably in distinguished cases based on the type of exception. So before dive into the coding and example session, we will see some flow or the chart that what are the hierarchy of the exception handling classes in the Java. So at the topmost in the exception series, there is a throwable class, and it is segregated into two additional form, that is error and exception. So error is usually some type of exception or throwable events in the Java programming language that are mostly related to the environment or system or related to memory, which cannot be recovered. Means if error is happened, then your program will terminate for sure. Then additionally, and it is it is also a type of a runtime like exception, and sometime before starting your program there might be some errors occurred related to the JVM or the virtual machine. And so further, the exception one. So exception theoretically segregated into the two categories. It is theoretical name like checked and unchecked, and probably used in the broad range of Java you can say that Java culture actually, checked and unchecked. So the checked one is like if you're creating something or some object, so your program or your compiler is know that for sure there must be a probability of such an error. Like let's consider you are creating a file object, and you are try to open the file and so on so far. So in that condition actually there is always a chance that your file might not exist at the place. So as long as you are creating a file object, there is a possibility along with that. So it is a type of checked exception. Along with that, there is ClassNotFoundException. Like if you are loading a class with the class.forName utility, so in that case, if the class is not exist for which you are looking, like the jar file is not or library file is not added into your program, so in that case you will get an error like class not found exception actually, but it is checked. Means as long as you will use class dot for name and you are passing some string, and if it is not found that class name, it will throw an exception, and it will not compile the program until you are putting it into the method signature. We will see that how we can handle these using distinguished way into the Java programming language. Then further there is additional IOException, then file not found, class not found exception, then interrupt exception, no such field exception, and number of other like reflectivity and so on so far. So we will see some of these which are most probably being used. All these is important. I will not saying that I'm not saying that the some of these are important, some are not, but yeah, for example purpose we will use some of these, and we'll see that how the checked one being forced by the IDE to put it into the method signature or wrap into the try and catch block. So we will see that the mechanism that how we gonna handle. Then the other broader part, that is runtime exception, which is sometime unchecked and most probably actually unchecked one, and all these are relies or being into the java.lang package. So it is a type of core package actually. So runtime exception having exceptions like array store error is there, exception actually, array store exception is there. Then negative array size index is there, index out of bound exception, then arithmetic exception like divide by 0 and so on so far. So these are some example. Yeah, there is illegal thread exception and so on and so forth, but yeah, we will see it into the example. So it is a tree actually which I want to tell you people, that before going into coding an example like scenario, we have to have to go through the example, so we have a clear vision that what we are learning. So initially we will learn about the some unchecked one, then checked one, and I will try to demonstrate some Stack Overflow like condition in Java, but usually it is not happening, but in certain condition there might be some error likewise. So let's begin. So here is my IntelliJ idea. I am just creating a simple project of Java. I have installed Java 17. You can probably write this code in any of JDK version without any problem. So most of the program that I'm writing will be in command line. So just put the project name, so it will be simply exception, and here I just want to change the package name com.example.exceptions. Okay, exception project or something like that, so it will be easy to distinct with the class name. Okay, so our project name is exception, and yeah, I just want to refactor it exception package. Actually it should be clear, package. Fine. So to manage the some uneven condition into the Java programming language, there is 5 keywords probably that is being that is used to manage, that is try, catch, throw, throws, and finally. So these are somehow blocks, some are keywords that is being used in the program in the when some exception is happened. So these keywords having distinct meaning. At a distinct condition we are going to use a different one. So now let's begin. So I am going with checked one first. So I just want to create a object of printwriter class, like printwriter here, and I just want to keep it static so it will be easy to use inside of your our main class. Then just printwriter is equal to new printwriter, and I'm just passing the path of a file name, so just keep it test.txt, and likewise now I am putting some file, some data actually inside of this printwriter actually object. So I'm not going to talk more about this class actually, because our intention here is on the exception handling. So yeah, here I have just put like hello world, and as you are able to see here that there is some unhandled exception like error. It means our ID, or probably somehow if we are try to go and just try to run it likewise, so you will see that there will be an error. Yeah, so here is an unreported exception, file not found, must caught or declared to be throw. So as we have seen, there is 5 keywords. So here the keyword throw is used, like file not found exception. Okay, and now the error is gone because we are simply putting this exception into the function signature or method signature. So whenever this method will be called, there always means like if it is being multiple level of here is our main class. So if main is using or calling printwriter, so it is using, but let us consider there is another class where we are using something called a writer and blah blah blah. So here in the writer class where we are using our printwriter, we have to handle our you can say that file not found. But as you gonna call the writer object or the related object to printer with the help of writer in the main, so here also you have to put it into the signature. That's what I want to explain here. Yeah, so as it is clear now, okay, so here we cannot do a lot of thing along with I can say that this exception like you or putting into the signature. So yeah, method signature. So we will use try and catch block. So what exactly try and catch do? So try is segment of or a block of code or statement where is a possibility of exception might be so as we are able to see that here is a possibility of file not found exception. In that condition we will catch it into catch block, and we can do the exact same print by printing the stack trace, or we can have our custom message like ex dot get cause or something like that, and the finally block play here a big role. So what does mean by finally? So finally will execute in all the condition if try will succeed or try will fail. Means if the exception is happen, then also this block will execute. If in some condition, let us consider there is some exception is happened and try block is thrown out of, like it was looking for a file that doesn't exist, or there might be some other error like you do not have proper permission to write some new file into the directory in which you are currently running also and so far. So for that purpose we will simply print it, and in the finally we can put some sort of message, and we can finish our task that is already left behind, like in the try block we are writing some data into test.txt, but let us consider some exception is happened here and it will put into the file not found exception and there some sort of error is printed. Further you will be pushed in this case into the finally block, and your print writer, the object that you has opened, it is closable actually, so it will be closed. There is additional try with resource, so in that condition actually you can use like print writer print writer and then print writer, and this section of code can be kept into so I believe it will not required now. Yeah, so your finally part is not required in this condition actually, or probably you can have with some sort of message and so but the closing part is will be managed automatically by your try block. In the Java I believe 10 onwards, because in my previous video I was a little confused about the var keyword, so it was introduced in Java 10 I think so. I still am not quite sure, but I believe it is introduced in Java 10. Yeah, so we can use bar to keep our because it will do automatic variable inference. Means it will during the compile time it will convert bar to the print writer, and it is clean and simple when we are writing some sort of code. And here we can put message like out of something tasks, and if all the thing is happened fine, so we can s out here also like saved, because our data is being saved into the file. And add out of in main out of try catch. And so now if you will try it run, I expect a file in our exception directory. Okay, NullPointerExecption at line number 17. Okay, yeah, so because yeah, it is null, we are not initializing this static one here anyway, and we are trying to close it. Okay, so such an error is actually happens, so it is actually unchecked error. Because of that, when null point exception is unchecked runtime exception. So yeah, here is an example how the problem is happens, or your code may remains buggy. So no issue, we got that where exactly the error is happened. Now just try to rebuild, and yeah, so the data is saved as we has got the message from here out of task in our finally block, and at the end in the main out of try catch block. As long as you are able to see here, there is a file named test.txt. so a new file is created. We have all the permission to create the file here with the JVM, and so all the thing is fine, and we just dump the data into the with the help of printwriter into the file, and printed the messages in ordered way, and just yeah, so okay, and just do our task. So it is an example of checked exception that usually happens when you're gonna create some sort of program. So I just want to rename this one. Okay, refactor file not found handling. Okay, quite long, no problem. I just want to put another demo for somehow the same type of exception that is also a checked one, and that is ClassNotFoundException. So ClassNotFoundException handling. Here I just want to keep main, and we are going to do everything into the main main block itself, or simply have a string and put the private one here, private final static string and driver class name. Okay, so we are looking for the class not found exception, and we'll handle it accordingly. When you are or JDBC class name and so on and so forth, because it is related to JDBC and database connectivity and so our class name here is for MySQL. Now it is changed. I'm using the old one, MySQL JDBC driver. So it is actually the class name in the form of string. We need to pass it to an actually yeah, so just have a look. So we are just printing like loading JDBC driver, and here driver class name we are just passing. Further, okay, class dot for name, and here we're gonna the class name. Now you are getting an error because there is a possibility of class not found exception. So it suggests you to put it into the method signature, like if it is not if it is not get it at the point where you mentioning or in the library directory, though in that case actually it will throw an class not found exception, and it is actually checked one. So you can simply run this, and actually it is not in our code. Yeah, sorry, I need to call this one. Yeah, so here is an error, class not found exception. It is loading our driver that we has mentioned as a string, and it is in such a way actually, because it is being returned to the JVM, and JVM is returning this message to us because JVM is not handling this exception. It is expecting that we gonna handle it. So just wrap it up into try and catch block. So class not found exception ex, and just have a message like ex dot get message or get cause, because get cause is a throwable object. Oh, okay. It is quite a messier means message. We cannot get it in a very appropriate way, but for sure when we are writing a code and try to load a driver, so as a developer we know that what actually happening. So like if we are printing into the console with the system output sys out, or I hope that you are aware, like there is three things like sys in, sys out, standard input output, and standard error. Standard out in case of Unix actually, and I hope the same thing is being followed in the Java too. So if I am putting standard output like ex dot or simply exception and a clear message, like what is the possibility of it. So clear message is like exception while loading class name, and simply pass the somehow driver. Okay, and I hope it will be quite clear message to the person if someone is getting such an error. Yeah, so as you are able to see, exception while loading the class name and the class. Okay, in some cases you have ability to recover from these exceptions, like if it is a function or something like that, though you can recall the some function that is into the previous task, and further you can handle these errors. There is another point to mention, that all these classes are extending, like if we go into the class not found exception. So yeah, so it is extending the reflective operation exception, and the parent of class not found or the super parent of class not found is actually exception. So if we are handling, because we might have an ability to handle multiple exception simultaneously, like it might have class not found exception, along with that there may be file not found exception too. For sure file not found exception is a checked one, so it is considered as such an error might not happen, but we may have like exception here at the place of class not found, but it will suggest that class not found exception is a subclass of exception. So exception is already, you know, covering whole the section, so you need not to have it. But let us consider you want to have, because you might have multiple catch, and yeah, sorry, here is likewise. Yeah, just you know, dumping thing because it is not required, I believe. So it is a suggestion that whenever you are having you know, subclass of an exception, so that should be first into the sequential order, you know, top to bottom order, like class not found is the first and then the exception, or you might have some other you know, custom exception handler, if that is, you know, somehow extending the class not found or something like that. So you have to be just a minute, cut it from here and paste it here. Okay, in this condition you are getting like there is no necessity to have a class not found exception. So you have to be very much, you know, vigilant when you're writing some sort of code in such a way, like handling the multiple exceptions. So you have to be aware, and you can write, you know, multiple exception likewise. I hope that this will not be forced to remove like class not found and arithmetic, because both are pull apart like things. So these two examples are for the checked exceptions, because as long as you will create or try to do the you know, activity, it will force you to put into the method signature or to keep the thing into the try and catch block. So these are checked one. I just want to create a package and checked and just try to, you know, refactor the existing one, and I will put it into the, you know, into the Git. So I believe you people will be able to have access of the code. And I just want to duplicate this, I believe. Yeah, so easy thing actually, don't waste too much time. And here is unchecked one, unchecked. Okay, and the class name is like ARITH, arithmetic exception handling. So what exactly arithmetic exception are probably? So let us consider most probably, which we will see into the example, are divide by zero exception. So it happens usually when we are try to, you know, let us consider we are defining two functions, a function like public no, public private static something, sorry, static returning some sort of int, yeah, int will be fine, and then divide. Okay, it is accepting two parameter, integer a and integer b. As it is division, it is quite clear, it will use a by b. Probably you might have some documentation about to specify that which number will be divided, means first or second, and so on, so forth. Further have a main class here, so main function here, and we're gonna just print the output like divide, and we are passing to number like 5 because our divide method gonna return an integer value, not float or dual, because I believe in the past it wasn't likewise, but now it is being if you are not passing, you know, integer, there is a float or double, so it converted it into the infinity, like even though there is an exception, means I will just try to, you know, tell that what exactly I want to say. Static like double divide double a double B and then return A upon B. No, this is simply means polymorphism like thing, same class with different signature and so. Okay, so as you are able to see here, it is 2. Fine. What if we are passing something like, if you are aware or you have basic idea of math, so if we are dividing any number with 0, okay, sorry, divide, so it returns infinity actually, or probably some error. So just try to do, and boom, as it is expected, there is an exception that is called as ArithmeticException, which is part of RuntimeException, and RuntimeException is subclass of exception class, and it is into Java lang. Exception is of Throwable, and Throwable the parent one. Serializable is something different, which is not part of our discussion. So I just want to keep it void. I mean, it not gonna return anything because of simplicity, and I want to print it here itself like s out, and that's all. Just try it once again, and the exception is exactly same, means first 2 is printed and then 0. Now have a try block, and it is not being forced to keep it into the method signature or so. We can have, but even though we will keep it, the exception will be in the exactly same manner, and it is runtime exception. So we have ability to recover our code, like if we are calling from here and exception is happens, so we can pass another likewise it will return 0 like 2, so it will return 5 or print 5, and here I just want to catch a arithmetic exception, that is EX. Here in the runtime exceptions, there the messages are little bit clear, so we can have the message likewise, and yeah, for sure the next statement will execute in this condition. Okay, so as long as you are able to see that we are passing 10 divided by 5 is 2, then 10 divided by 0, which is an exception, divided by 0 exception, and it should throw the exception, but in this case it is just returning a message that because we are handling it, means our code is into the recoverable mode, so it's not going to put some sort of messy thing like there is some sort of blunder is happened, and that cannot be managed. Means it is managed, and it return the control from where the function has been called, and as long as these things is cleared out into the divide, the next statement will be executed into the predefined manner, and further it is doing a task as it is expected here, means it is well and good, there is no any issue. And so now we're going to check it here, that what I was want to say, as long as you are able to see that the focus has been shifted here, and 0 divided by 0, and just try to do it. You will see that the first one will be fine, 2 point yeah, so yeah, I can understand because we are not printing it here, and here is something I can use void because we are not going to return anything from here. So in this condition it will return 2.0 and infinity, and further the 5 from the integer one. So in the case of float and double into the recent version of Java, I don't know what was the condition in the previous one. According to me, up to JDK 8, even though we are passing some sort of float and double, then also there was an exception, but now it is returning infinity. Okay, so what is the benefit of using exception handling? We can simply check it here, like I just comment out the exception handling part and try to run this one. Oh, okay, so 2 is printed, that is fine because it is into the first line. As long as the exception is happened here, you can see the stack, the exception stack. You will get the exception cause of exception if it is possible through the your JVM also. So as you got that there is a divide by 0 exception, you will see that okay, all right, the file name is something ArithmeticException handling Java. At the line 6 the error is happened. Okay, fine, here the exception is happened. Okay, why? Find y actually. So you can simply have the stack trace here also. So JDK, the exact same file, line number 18, here parameter v is 0, because of that the exception is happening, means you has got the thing, but it returns. And after this, from where the main function is being called, that is throwing the exception, means your JVM is throwing the exception. But as you just wrap it into the try catch block, and just a minute, I'm just trying to reformat the code. Okay, fine. As long as you put it into the try and catch block and rerun your code, oh, you will see that the first statement is executed appropriately, no issue. The exception part is handled and get the message that we are expecting, and after that means the thing is cleared of here in the divide method. So the main doesn't have any responsibility to manage the exception of the previous one. And so yeah, for sure we may have here like throws, I'm sorry, not there actually, that's method signature, throws ArithmeticException, and further we can like have it likewise, and here we can do the exact same task, catch ArithmeticException. Or for sake of ease purpose, we can have all these divide statement inside of it. Okay, and then as out ex dot get message, so it will behave exactly same. Yeah, so or probably yeah, likewise you may have it here, because you are not aware that which statement might have an exception. So both the way the thing is exactly same. Now there is another array and string out of bound exception. So we will see both the thing in same way, like out of bound exception. Yeah, here in this case I just want to have another method, so we can check the multiple exception at the same time. So that is NumberFormatException actually. So the method signature will be little bit different, because we are taking the parameter as string, and like var x is equal to integer dot parse int a. Okay, bar y is equal to, b can have integer here without any problem, parse int b. Okay, now yeah, just try to manage the thing like previously we did, x divided by y, but as we know there is a chance of exception. Okay, so simply we have an example like divide by 0, we will pass 1 and probably 2. Okay, good enough, and I believe it is clear. So we will get 0 because yeah, that is fine, I mean that is expected. Like if it is 10 and 2, then we will get the 5 as a response here, and yeah, that's fine now. But what if we pass it to a, which is an unexpected thing? Boom, there is an exception, number format exception. So if we are taking some sort of user data, so it is must, and that is numerical value. So in that case actually it is important to handle the exception for number formatting or related thing. We can have float or double dot parse double and so on so far also. So or there might be another case like the second parameter is 0. So in that case the parsing will be successful, but we will get an exception divided by 0. So to avoid such an exception, we can have try and wrap all the statements that possibly can cause an exception, and then catch. Here b will handle two different exception in a single catch statement. So number format exception along with arithmetic exception, and the object name will be same. Probably both the exception cannot happen in the same time, so the object will be used probably at once only. Is out, and now here ex dot get message. I hope that it is clear to you people, and now just try to run it. Yeah, divided by 0 exception, so that's an expected thing. And let us consider that we are passing 0a, so I believe the related error will be there. Yeah, so for input string 0 we are trying to pass which is an illegal task to do by the Java parser. So I hope that up to this it is clear. Yeah, so we were moving to the now checked yeah, unchecked one. So there was another exception that is out of bound. So there is two index array out of bound, array index out of bound, and then string index out of bound. These are the two type of exceptions that are probably happening. So as the name suggests, array index out of bound is for arrays and string is for the string purpose. Like if we haven't indexed, like we are trying to access a character value of any string and that doesn't exist, so in that case we are getting these exceptions. So let us have the main function into the class. Here in the main I just want to have an array of integer length of 5. Okay, I hope that up to it everything is clear. Now here is the catch. We are simply try to put a value that is a of 10, which is out of capacity and out of the length that has been specified when we are creating the variable. As you people may aware that the value or the length of an array cannot be changed once it is initialized. So here we have just put 5, and we are trying to put the value at the 10th element in the array. just see that what will happen. Boom. So ArrayIndexOutOfBoundException is happened, which is a subclass of IndexOutOfBound, and subsequently that is the subclass of RuntimeException, and further you are aware that exception and the other thing. So we can have the thing likewise. Array index out of bound and simply s out and then ex, then get message. Get message, getting the message like here is the message in the clear one. At the end we will create our custom exception handling classes. So yeah, here you are able to see, I believe, yeah, here is the exception that that is sorry, that's the exception. And now if we'll run it once again, so it will be little clear, like the exception is like index 10 is out of bound of length 5. So it is little bit clear, but in this case we will our statement which is comes after this line number 8 or probably 7 will execute like done. Example, we can see it likewise if we run, and yes, so in this case as long as the exception is happened, the program terminates. But if we use the exception handling mechanism, so in that case our code is executed in an appropriate way along with the exception means handling mechanism, means the thing get recovered. You are able to see here like our exception is happened and it is recovered from that with the help of cache block, and at the end it returns the control to the main and further instructions being executed without any problem. Yes, so these were to checked and unchecked type of exception. There is a lot of subclasses of a direct exception class, and okay, Java doc API. Yeah, so my network is offline, just a minute. Okay, so like Java 11 API doc. Okay, probably you can see for Java 17 too. So for more information like throwable and so, you can simply go into the thing into the direct class. So it have two subclasses like error and the exception, so you can find the subclasses of error and that whole detail of the thing is mentioned here. Then what are possible subclasses of error, and these are very few as compared to the exception one and then further runtime exception one. But these are non-recoverable, means it is once happened the program will terminate at the point and you will not have any chance to recover from the thing. Most of the these are related to the environment or the system where it is running or the JVM sort of things. So I believe that we are not too much related to these things. Then the exception with which the developer usually play. So most of these things are the direct exceptions. Some are checked and some are unchecked. If you will search for the runtime on here, then runtime exception is also have a whole bunch of subclasses. There is a datetime format and blah 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 blah. You can go through one by one based on your need, no such element exception, then so on and so forth. Okay, so this is all about the actually exception documentation. Now I just want to have a simple example of error. I mean, it will raised by us, or will be created a condition in such a way that will cause to happen a stack overflow exception error. So I hope that all of you are aware with the factorial method, and usually when we are writing some sort of recursive function, so we all have some error, means loop is not going to terminate at any cost. I mean, in that condition we usually have the stack overflow exception. So let us see it. So I just want to have a method called private static. It return an integer and method factorial factorial. It required a number, or simply have the complete name of it. Okay. So if n is less than equal to 0, return 1. Less than equal to number is, if number is less than equal to 1, then do it. Otherwise return factorial number minus 1 into number. Okay, so this is the logic behind the factorial. Write the main method and simply call the factorial. Just call for 10 or simply 5. We are not trying to put our system in so much stress, because it requires too much memory when we are running some sort of, yeah, so it is 120. That is fine. I mean, that is correct too. Now just consider we forget to have this condition which stops our stopping condition that is going to hold this recursive call. And if we run the program, just wait for a second, boom, there is some error. Go, and you will find there is an stack overflow error. It is not an exception. So either the way you cannot control this, means the memory that is in the stack, that is out of space. So there is some other errors, like stack overflow is there, then virtual machine is there, then I think so out of memory exception is also there. So these are some sort of errors that are non-recoverable in the Java programming. So yes, up to this I has covered about the exceptions, in which checked and unchecked, basic theory, then class somehow a tree of these classes, then the error. Probably errors are fatal, so they are non-recoverable, as I has already told. Most of the checked or probably checked one is being forced to handle when we are try to compile. Without handling the checked exception, we will be unable to we will be unable to compile the program, whereas unchecked will compile but throw in a runtime exception. So I hope that it is quite long, about 1 hour video, but it is overall insight of the exception handling into Java as per my thought.